Hello everyone. So I am going to be talking a bit today about the other side of content in digital PR, or what was historically link building, although I don't like to call it that because it sounds really old hat now, because it is quite a different picture when you look at AI in digital PR compared to on-site content. So I know what you're probably all thinking. Not another talk about how we use AI in our marketing strategy. So let's start with what AI is not good at doing, specifically in PR. So ironically, I had a bit of mind block when I was coming up for the name for this talk, and I used ChatGPT with a very quick prompt to come up with some names for my talk because I had complete mind block. And it didn't do a very good job. They were all very robotic, which is not going to get my audience engaged, and I think is a true representation of why it can't do a creative PR role, because it just cannot emulate that human touch, that you need when you work in digital PR. So, don't know what's happened with my slides. I apologise. My agency obviously has fonts that are not working with Google slides, but I am Chloe Rushworth. Obviously, Mike has already given an introduction. I'm Digital PR Director at Kineso. We were Reprise Digital. We are now Kineso. That is quite a new thing, which is why we said Reprise. I also run, as he said, an interiors and property renovation, TikTok and Instagram, which basically means I'm at both sides of the table when it comes to social search. So I've got quite a lot of experience of working on the influencer side and on the PR side in my role. Cheeky little plug there. If you do like home renovation, I'm addicted to moving, please come and join me over there. I'm not afraid to admit that I work in digital, but AI absolutely terrifies me. The metaverse terrifies me even more. The thought of an avatar walking around, buying things for me in shops, I'm too old for it. Like, I can't cope with it. But ChatGPT did get me out of a school holiday fine. So I don't know if I should be admitting this, and hopefully my son's head teacher is not in this room, but I used it to write a letter so I could take him on a 2-week holiday instead of a week in October, and it worked, and she didn't fine me. So it does work for some things you don't want to do, like writing letters to your head teacher, it's really good for. There's all this noise at the moment about how AI will replace jobs. I know how noisy it is. I think we're all very aware. So the World Economic Forum says that AI will replace an estimated 85 million jobs by 2025. I don't think it's coming for our jobs anytime soon. And the Department for Education reports that PR is the 9th most exposed profession, try and get all these words out, to the impact of artificial intelligence and large language models such as ChatGPT. So I want to talk about the things that it's not good at from a PR perspective, from like a digital and creative standpoint, because I'm seeing a lot of noise online that it can do things like write press releases and pitch emails to journalists. So if you search on Google, how can AI help your digital PR strategy? It will tell you. You'll get millions of articles telling you it can write press releases and pitch emails. No, it can't. It can't do that. And the reason it can't do that is because it can't evoke human emotion. And so we're not talking with regards to on-site content here. Yes, it can do all of those things. But if you're trying to speak to a person, like a journalist, you cannot use AI to write a press release. It can help prompt, but it cannot write press releases for you. I've tried all kinds of ways to do it. It cannot do it. It also can't give human answers. It doesn't have emotional intelligence. When you work in PR, I don't want to say that we prey on people's emotions because that sounds absolutely dreadful, but we do look at our audience's pain points. That's something that we focus on. And of course, it can't do that for us. And offering unique insight as well. So when you work in PR, which is a very saturated market, you're always looking for new headlines and new ways to build links for your clients. It can't offer unique insight. And everything is done, I don't care what people say, everything is done in the market, and you're just looking for new ways and new headlines that are going to turn a journalist's head. It can't do that either. I don't know if people saw this, but last year, someone at Samsung, who may not have a job anymore, I'm not entirely sure, they basically put the code of a new product into ChatGPT-4 and caused a massive data leak. So we do have to be really careful, of course, about how we're using AI for our clients and how we use it internally, because we don't want to be causing things like data leaks. And just in regards to PR campaigns, we talk a lot about the principles of EAT and trust. And with regards to PR, we have to be really careful about how we are coming up with campaigns that consider AI. Now, people want real life, right? They want to be engaged with what you're creating from a creative standpoint, and they want you to help with their pain points. But Formula E here basically came up with an AI-generated influencer that used as its ambassador, and they got absolutely slaughtered for it. Like, it was bad. So we just have to be careful about how we're using AI. Yes, it can be used, but we shouldn't be using it in this way for digital PR campaigns. So essentially, it can't create or replicate all the things that are important to Google's algorithm from a PR perspective, not from a content perspective. I just want to highlight that. So from a PR perspective, it cannot do those things. That number one thing that we're seeking is build trust. And I don't believe that at this moment in time, it can do that. Because I work in search, I've obviously come along with some social listening data on AI and PR to see what people are talking about. So it's noisy out there, and it is actually an emerging trend for 2024, thanks to my insights team for pulling this for me. So all of the things I've kind of touched on, like ethical uncertainties around digital PR campaigns, transparency and bias, AI-driven outreach, it's all there. People are really loudly talking about it. And this just gives you an overview, not that it can be seen very well, of how people in the digital PR world are using it to help with their work. So a lot of it comes down to research, because it is a really useful tool for that, and I will talk about that. I think there's something we need to be really careful with as well when you're working in the world of digital PR. So if you're trying to come up with a creative campaign to target your audience, we have to consider things like manipulation and fake news, which has obviously been a very big thing, especially the past few years. Something that I am not fond of as a PR professional, and it's got worse out there. In fact, a few weeks ago, I don't know if anyone saw this, but they basically banned you being able to search for Taylor Swift on X, which obviously was formerly Twitter, because there were so many fake videos of her going around. Another example would be Martin Lewis. So there was a scam recently where someone had literally generated a video and it looked so like him, and they used it as a scam. So we have to be really careful. It's quite a threat to our industry. And also that human touch as well, which when you're creating digital PR campaigns, everything is about, evoking emotion and those pain points that I talked about. But if given the chance, we do want to make our lives easier, right? So digital PR is not given enough credit for how hard it is. I've worked in it for 14 years now, and I can't tell you how much of my career I have spent fighting our corner. As I said, it's become saturated. It's a very, very saturated market. When I started, it was the new big shiny thing in search, and it was a lot easier to kind of get out there, get campaigns in the media. That has changed quite drastically. Everybody is chasing links, high quality, high authority links, and not just that, brand awareness. It is so noisy. And something that cannot be controlled by a crystal ball, we have to work with the news cycle, like we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, has become a really vital part of search strategy. And I think that's what makes it so hard. Search is obviously evolving more than ever. It's more important that you know who your audience is, where they are, how they consume content, and what their pain points are, because we really want to target those pain points. And AI cannot create authenticity for our audience from a PR perspective. So we can't go away and use AI to basically draft up our entire campaign, our press release, and all of our imagery and go out with it, because that's just not going to stand a chance. But we can use it to our advantage in many ways. To do the boring tasks, to do research. I found it quite useful for research, actually, and I'm going to give some tips on that in a minute, and help deliver best-in-class strategy, because it is a really, really useful tool. So I've just pulled together some quick-fire tips to help elevate your creative strategy, link building, digital PR, whatever you call it, to help gain those links that you need, that are really important. And these are just ways that I am implementing it in my team at the moment. So more than 3/4 of marketers want to use ChatGPT to improve marketing performance, but only 40% are using it right now, which I think is quite low. Something it is not good at is giving you ideas. Again, if you search on the internet and you search how is AI useful for PR, it will say it can pull ideas for you. It's not a creative brain. It cannot do that. It just doesn't have that function yet. Hopefully never. That's a bit scary. But I basically asked it to give me some ideas just to show you this in principle. Now, I have absolutely no idea what the search intent is around dog chocolate. So, yeah, I've not looked into it. I literally just sat and thought, what do people like? Pets. And what awareness day is coming up? Valentine's Day in a couple of weeks. So I asked it to give me 5 digital PR ideas to target the keyword dog chocolate for Valentine's Day. It just comes up with the same old stuff. It can't do anything creative, so it isn't good at helping you come up with ideas, but it can elevate ideas, so we can use it as a springboard for ideating, for research, all of those things that are really important to creating a digital PR strategy. So these are just some of the ways that we have been using it in my team. So what it can do is list like shower of thoughts about a brand. So I've used Cadbury's as an example because they're a really nice brand. And it will give you like a list of USPs of that brand, which can be quite helpful when you're ideating from a brand perspective, but also from a digital PR standpoint as well. It might actually be quite useful for content generation too. But it basically gives you a list of like unique qualities, and you can do that for competitors as well. So when you've kind of got all your keyword research and you're looking at who the top competitors are, you can have a little look and compare those insights. It's also really good at generating reputable lists of studies. So a lot of what we do in our role is we will take already existing data, layer it with like search trend data, and we'll come up with an angle for a journalist. So it is really good at generating reputable studies. So I use pet food as an example here, and it gave me a list of all the places I could go to get, really good quality research that we can sift through and see if we can marry up to find any angles. It's also quite nifty for top-line media contact research. Now, I'm not suggesting that people use it to do their whole media list. That is not a good idea. But when you're ideating, it's a really good idea to have just an idea, really, of who you're going to be targeting before you're ideating. And so here I just asked it to give me 10 UK journalists and publications who've written about dogs and Valentine's Day before. It gives you a nice, concise list, maybe slightly outdated now, because obviously it hasn't been updated in ChatGPT 3.5, but it just gives you an idea of who you potentially be targeting, so that when you're ideating, your ideas are focused around those publications. Running a survey, this is more from a brand perspective. We don't do that many surveys anymore. We tend to lean into social trends, search data, but it is quite a good way to get prompts if you're in-house and you're looking to target your audience with a survey. It could be a good way just to give you those initial prompts so you don't have to do it. Obviously, take it with a pinch of salt. You will need to look at it from a manual perspective, but it can be a good prompt for that. And it's actually quite good at helping elevate storylines. So something I really like about it is you can ask it to give you little known facts about topic areas. So here I asked it to give me little known facts about dogs and love, because Valentine's Day is what I'm focusing on for some reason. And this is what it came up with, which are all really nice prompts to take into an ideation. So I've been using that in my team quite a lot recently. We're constantly looking for new ways to, get journalists to write about stories and different angles. And so it can be a really good way to do that. Not all of our stories work, like it's just the nature of what we do. And sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board and see if we can find a new hook because the one we thought was going to work didn't work for whatever reason. So it's also a really good way to kind of tap into that and just help you maybe think about other ways, other data you could potentially pull into your story to get it covered. I think you'd be lying if you work in content and PR and you said you went into it for your maths skills. I just about passed my maths GCSE with quite a lot of help. Did not realise how much later on in my career I would need maths. Luckily, not trigonometry. So one of my colleagues actually found this at the weekend, and I thought it was a really good example of a social team using ChatGPT to basically do their formulas. So this is the Glossier social team. They posted this onto their TikTok and it went viral. So basically they were looking for a caption with a formula for their Instagram post, and they go through all their talk about how nobody can work it out because they've got no math skills, and then they use ChatGPT and it gives them the formula for it. And yeah, they posted it on their socials and it did really well. But it's a perfect example of a brand who is using ChatGPT for maths, but you do need to be really careful with complex maths. So we've started testing very small data sets in it, and yeah, you just have to be very careful with it and make sure that you do test it from a manual perspective, because we have had some calculations that have come out wrong when it is complex. In Glossier's situation, it wasn't complex maths, it was a very simple formula. And then away from ChatGPT, social listening, which is probably one of the biggest things in our industry as digital PRs now. We rely very heavily on social listening and current trends on social media to get coverage. It's what the press are covering from a lifestyle perspective, and that is what we focus on. So there is a tool called Glimpse. Some people may know about it. It's been on the market for a few years now. And it is a really, really great tool for you to be able to get insights into your industry. You can look on an industry level to see what emerging trends are coming up. So it basically layers search data and social data to look at those trends for you. You can also put in your product sets, which is a really useful feature. And if you notice any spikes in a trend for a specific product, you can then look to see why it could possibly be trending. Is it a new TV show that's come out? Is there a reason that it's trending? And you can jump straight on that and create a story. So AI is really good in that sense. These are AI-powered tools, and they are so useful to us as digital PRs. So I've just pulled out a few recent headlines that I'm pretty sure would have come from a tool like this. So you've got the bookshelf wealth angle, which is basically people having bookshelves in their homes, and somebody has labelled it as bookshelf wealth and sold that in as a story. You've also got the unexpected red theory, which I focused on interiors here because obviously it's something I'm really into. And that is having one piece of red furniture in your room and nothing else. Apparently it's meant to be a really good theory, and someone has pulled that out and used it to focus on the trend. It's really good for imagery, for proofs, pictures, campaigns. So don't know if you've ever had, if someone works in a similar role to me, someone in their D&D team look at them like, what on earth is she talking about when I'm trying to visualise what we want to create? But we've started testing it out, or we're going to start testing it out just as a way to help our D&D team visualise what we are trying to get across. We've used it in a few campaigns now that have done quite well. It's also good if you've got like a fake product that you want to launch. You can use it as a sounding board for that to come up with concepts. Do have to be careful with copyright. There's a lot of talk about that at the moment, so something to be mindful of. But it is a good way to kind of elevate your pitches as well when you're pitching to a client, trying to visualize an idea for them. There was a video here that hasn't come up, but I just wanted to give an example of a brand who is doing AI really well and using it to their advantage from a PR perspective. So Coca-Cola, they've done some really smashing stuff. So they released a new flavour using an AI-generated recipe, and they genuinely made it, sent it out to influencers and got so much coverage for it. They called it the Y3000, which, yeah, apparently it tastes a mix between what Americans call cotton candy And I can't remember what else it was, but they basically said it tasted like cotton candy, got them tons of coverage, such a clever idea and an amazing way to use AI. They also generated the first AI ad, which was on here, but isn't showing. So they basically created the first AI ad. I don't think it was used on people's TV screens. I think it was just a prototype to be used for PR. But again, another really good way that they have used AI to generate campaigns that aren't going to cause bias. Oh, there it is. It's popped up now. But I don't know if it will play. But anyway, it is on my deck if you want to have a look. So I could be here forever, but I don't have that much time today. And I'm just going to finish with this lovely feature that actually means nothing, but I just like that it can pull me emojis to put in my headlines for journalists. Like, it's a really easy way to make your story, your headline stand out. So I thought I'd pop that in there. It's great for pulling emojis. And tools that may be useful for you. So some of these you may be well versed in, the likes of Grammarly, Brandwatch, but we're actually testing quite a lot of tools at the moment just to see how they work from a digital PR perspective. So I've just popped some on there in case you want to have a little look at those. And my conclusion is that no, it's not taking any of our jobs soon, I don't think. Of course, it is going to take over some jobs, and we have to be mindful of that. And we definitely need to be using it, because otherwise it's probably going to impact our jobs in some way or another. But I really don't think, especially in creative roles, that it is coming for our jobs anytime soon. Yes, it can be incredibly useful, but you've got to use a human lens on it. It's absolutely no good using it for trying to write press releases and contact journalists, because it's just not going to work. And nobody knows what's coming next in AI, and I think that's an important factor. We don't know what's going to happen and how things are going to develop. So we're best just to test it out and use it. And I hope that was helpful from a link building digital PR standpoint. Yeah, thank you very much.